Ravi always felt a special connection with the stars. From the time he was a little boy, he had loved looking at the night sky. He remembered lying on the roof of his small house, staring at the countless stars that seemed to twinkle just for him. While other children ran and played, Ravi would carry a small notebook and a toy telescope his father had given him. He would spend hours drawing the shapes of constellations, imagining stories about the stars, and wondering if anyone else out there could see the same sky. As he grew older, his fascination with space only became stronger. He studied physics and astronomy with great passion. After finishing university, he managed to get a small position at the town observatory. It was not the most advanced observatory, but it was enough for him to listen to the whispers of the universe. Every night while others were sleeping, Ravi would sit in front of the radio equipment, adjusting knobs and reading graphs that most people could not understand. He loved the quiet, the sense that he was alone but at the same time connected to something much bigger than himself. One evening, the air was cold and the sky was clear. Ravi had been monitoring radio waves for hours. Most nights were silent, with only the usual static noise coming through the receiver. But that night something unusual happened. A pattern appeared in the signal, subtle at first, almost like a soft rhythm hidden in the noise. Ravi leaned closer, adjusting the frequency, trying to understand if it was a glitch or some kind of interference. His heart began to race. "This isn't random," he whispered to himself, unable to hide the excitement. He carefully wrote down the sequence of signals, noting the exact intervals. Every scientist in the world knew that sometimes static could trick the mind, but Ravi was certain this was different. It repeated in a regular pattern, not once but several times. It was slow and deliberate, almost as if it were trying to communicate. He ran the signal through his computer software, analyzing every wave, every frequency. Nothing in the system was malfunctioning. Everything was normal. The pattern was real, and it was coming from deep space. The message, if it could be called that, was brief but repeated consistently. Ravi felt a chill run down his spine. He could not explain why he felt both fear and excitement at the same time. He played the recording again, listening carefully. The signal sounded like it was asking a question, though no words were spoken. He tried to translate the rhythm into letters, using every method he had learned during his studies. Hours passed and the night grew colder. The moon rose high in the sky, casting soft light over the observatory. Finally, Ravi thought he saw a pattern that resembled 3 simple words. His hands trembled slightly as he whispered, "Are you alone?" Ravi could hardly believe it. Could it be? Could there actually be someone or something trying to talk to him from beyond the stars? The idea was overwhelming. His mind raced with questions. Who were they? How far away were they? How long had they been listening to Earth? Ravi knew that even if he tried to tell someone, they might think he was imagining things. Yet the signal was there, undeniable and persistent. The next morning, Ravi could not concentrate on anything else. He barely slept. He kept playing the recording, looking at the graphs, trying to find hidden details. Something about the signal felt alive. It was not just data. It felt like a presence. He remembered his father telling him years ago that some messages are not just information, they carry feelings. Ravi now felt that truth more than ever. He decided to share his discovery with his colleague, Aisha. She was in charge of communication systems at the observatory and had always been practical, cautious, and intelligent. Ravi hesitated for a moment before knocking on her office door. "Aisha, you need to hear this," he said, holding the notebook and laptop tightly. Aisha looked up, slightly annoyed at the interruption, but curiosity won over. She sat next to him, listening as Ravi explained everything. He played the recording carefully. At first she frowned, thinking it was just interference. But as the signal repeated, she grew quiet. Her eyes widened in disbelief. This is not from any satellite or space debris," she whispered. "I don't know what this is, but it's real. Someone, or something is trying to communicate." Ravi nodded. "I felt it too. It's asking a question. I think it wants to know if we are alone." Aisha took a deep breath. "If this is true, it's the first real contact humans have ever had. We need to be careful, but also, we can't ignore it." The two of them worked through the day and night trying to decode the full message. They sent simple signals in response, cautious but curious. For hours, nothing happened. Then as they sat in tense silence, the voice returned. Not a human voice, but a digital tone, soft and calm, almost like it had emotion. "We hear you. it said through the static. The words were faint yet clear. Ravi's heart nearly stopped. He had expected data or patterns, not a voice. Aisha's hands shook as she wrote everything down. We have watched your world, the voice continued. Are you alone, human? Ravi looked at her, his eyes wide with disbelief. It's real. It's asking the same question. Not just a signal. A real voice, Aisha nodded, still writing every word. We need to document this carefully. This could change everything. As night fell again, Ravi stayed alone in the observatory. He watched the sky, the stars sparkling like tiny lights of hope. The voice had disappeared for the moment, leaving only the memory of its calm, curious tone. Ravi felt a strange mixture of fear and wonder. Could they be friendly? Could they be dangerous? He did not know. But one thing was clear. The universe was no longer silent. Someone, somewhere was listening, and now they were speaking. He whispered into the empty room. I am here. I am listening. The observatory felt quieter than ever, but the stars seemed brighter. Ravi sat back knowing that his life, and perhaps the life of every human, was about to change forever. He did not know when or how, but the question that had come through the stars would not be forgotten. Are you alone, human? And in that quiet night, surrounded by the hum of machines and the sparkle of distant suns, Ravi waited. He waited for the next message, the next word, the next sign that humanity was not alone in the vast universe. The morning after the strange signal, Ravi could barely eat breakfast. His mind was completely consumed by the previous night's events. He kept replaying the recording, analyzing each tone, each subtle pause in the signal. Every now and then he thought he heard a slight shift, a hidden meaning in the static, but it was hard to tell. The more he listened, the more he became certain of one thing. The voice was intentional. Someone or something was reaching out, and it had chosen him and Aisha to respond. At the observatory, Ravi and Aisha spent the entire day working together. They had set up a separate room filled with computers, notebooks, and charts. The room smelled faintly of coffee and paper, and the soft hum of the machines gave the space a quiet rhythm that felt like the heartbeat of their tiny universe. Ravi plotted the signal patterns on large sheets of paper, drawing lines, curves, and symbols to represent what he could understand. Aisha worked on creating a system to send responses back, using a mix of radio waves and digital pulses. We need to be careful, Aisha said. We don't know who or what we are talking to. If this gets out, people might panic. Or worse, people might interfere. We must keep this quiet for now, Ravi nodded. I know, but we can't ignore it. If this is real, it's the first time in history that someone from the stars is trying to communicate. We have a responsibility to respond correctly. The first few attempts to send a message back were frustrating. They tried simple greetings. Hello, we hear you, and we are human. Nothing came back. For 2 long days, silence filled the observatory. Ravi felt the weight of the universe pressing on him. Every time he looked at the sky, he imagined countless eyes watching, waiting. He wondered what the voice saw when it looked at Earth. Did it see the oceans, the mountains, the cities filled with people rushing through their lives? Did it see the wars, the laughter, the dreams? Then late on the 3rd night, the voice returned. It was soft, almost like a whisper in the static, but clear enough to make both Ravi and Aisha freeze. We hear you, it said. The words were deliberate and calm, carrying a tone of curiosity rather than threat. Ravi could hardly believe it. It replied, he said, his voice shaking. Yes, Aisha replied, her eyes wide. This is real. They are actually responding. The voice paused for a moment, then continued. We have observed your world. We know you seek others. We seek to understand you. Ravi's heart raced. He and Aisha exchanged a glance, each trying to comprehend the magnitude of what was happening. They were no longer simply listening to strange signals. They were speaking with an entity from far beyond Earth. The words seemed simple, but the meaning felt profound. Someone or something was reaching across unimaginable distances trying to make contact. They tried to ask questions. Ravi typed carefully on the keyboard, sending simple phrases. Who are you? Why contact us? Are you friendly? Almost immediately, the voice responded. We are what you may become, it said. Time does not flow the same for us. You are young and your world is learning. We have learned much. You can too. Aisha leaned back in her chair, astonished. It's talking about the future, or maybe another version of humans. This is incredible. It's like looking into a mirror that shows us what we could become. Ravi nodded, unable to stop staring at the screen. And it's calm. It's not here to scare us. It's here to teach, maybe even warn. Over the next few hours, they continued their cautious conversation. The voice described places and experiences that were almost impossible to imagine. It spoke of stars and planets far beyond the reach of human telescopes, of civilizations that had grown and changed over millions of years, and of lessons learned from mistakes that humans had not yet faced. "You are at a crossroads," the voice said. "Your world has potential. You have curiosity, creativity, and courage, but you must choose carefully. Your choices shape your destiny just as ours shaped ours." Ravi and Aisha listened in silence. Each word felt like a weight on their minds. The voice was calm but wise, almost like a teacher explaining the consequences of actions without anger or fear. It was a message, but it was also a story of growth, discovery, and responsibility. That night, as the observatory grew quiet, Ravi sat alone with the equipment, staring at the blinking lights of the computers. He felt a strange connection, as if the voice was speaking directly to him, not just through sound, but through a feeling he could not explain. It was not fear, it was understanding, curiosity, and hope all at once. He asked softly, "Why us? Why choose me?" The reply came after a pause long enough to make him wonder if he had imagined it. Then through the static, the voice answered, "You are listening. You care. Others have not yet opened their hearts. Your attention matters." Ravi shivered. It felt personal, almost like the voice had looked inside his mind and understood his dreams and fears. He realized that the universe was not only vast and mysterious, but also patient. Somehow it had waited for someone willing to listen. The next morning, Aisha and Ravi presented their findings to their director. He was skeptical at first, but as they demonstrated the patterns, the repeated messages, and the voice itself, he grew silent. This could change everything," he said quietly. "We must document it, but we cannot let it go public yet. Humanity is not ready for this." Not fully, Ravi understood. They would have to keep their work secret, at least for now. But inside him, a spark of excitement burned brighter than ever. The voice had asked a simple question. "Are you alone, human?" And that question had changed everything. It had shifted his understanding of the universe and of humanity's place within it. For days, they continued sending messages. They asked the voice about the lessons it had learned, about the choices its civilization had faced, and about what humans could do to avoid mistakes. Each answer was thoughtful and calm, never harsh or judgmental. It was clear that this was not just a machine or a program. It had intelligence, curiosity, and even a sense of care. "You have hope," the voice said one night. "Even when your world seems lost, hope will guide you. Learn from your mistakes. Help each other. Protect what is precious. That is the path forward." Ravi and Aisha recorded everything carefully. Every word, every pause, every subtle tone mattered. They knew that this was not just a discovery, it was a lesson, a gift from the universe. And as they worked through the night, they began to realize that the question, "Are you alone, human?" was more than a question about space. It was a question about themselves, about their civilization, about their hearts and minds. By the end of the week, Ravi felt a change in himself. He saw the world differently. He noticed the kindness of strangers, the beauty of simple acts, and the potential of humanity in ways he had never considered. The voice had not just reached across space, it had reached inside him. That night, as the observatory lights dimmed and the stars shone brighter than ever, Ravi whispered into the quiet room, "We are not alone." "Not truly, and maybe we never were." The voice replied faintly through the static, almost like a lullaby for the curious mind. "You are learning. That is enough. We will speak again." Ravi smiled, feeling both small and infinite at the same time. The universe was wide, mysterious, and alive, and someone or something out there cared enough to reach across the distance. He realized that the journey was only beginning. The stars were no longer just points of light. They were questions, answers, and promises waiting to be discovered. And with that realization, Ravi and Aisha knew that life on Earth had changed forever. The voice was not just a signal. It was a teacher, a guide, and a reminder that even in the vast emptiness of space, connection was possible. Humanity had a chance to learn, to grow, and to step into a future that was waiting patiently just beyond the stars. The following days at the observatory became a rhythm of quiet anticipation. Ravi and Aisha spent long hours decoding the signals, carefully sending replies and listening to the voice that had now become familiar. Each transmission felt like a conversation, even though there were long silences between messages. The voice was patient, as if it understood that humans needed time to grasp ideas that were far beyond their usual experiences. Ravi noticed a change in himself. He no longer saw the stars as distant cold lights. They were alive, full of hidden messages and secrets waiting to be discovered. Even the smallest flicker of light in the night sky felt like a gentle nudge, a reminder that he was part of something far larger than himself. Aisha shared the same feeling. She would often pause, staring at the sky, thinking about the words of the voice. It was almost as if a new window had opened inside her mind. One evening, Ravi decided to take a different approach. Instead of sending questions, he began sending thoughts, simple descriptions of Earth, of life, and of humans. He described children playing in the parks, the sound of rivers flowing through the forests, the laughter of friends sharing a meal, and the quiet moments when people were alone with their thoughts. He spoke of dreams, fears, and hopes. He wondered if the voice could understand emotions, or if it thought only in logic and knowledge. To his surprise, the reply came quickly. "We understand," the voice said. "Your world is young and your hearts are full. You feel deeply. That is good. That is the way to grow." Ravi looked at Aisha, unable to hide his excitement. "Did you hear that? It understands feelings. It knows about humans, not just facts." Aisha smiled, her eyes shining with wonder. "It's not just intelligence. It's awareness, and it wants to teach, not control. That is rare." As the days passed, the voice began sharing more about itself and its origin. It spoke of a civilization that had once been very similar to humans, with curiosity, dreams, and fears. They had once been divided, struggling with their own conflicts much like humans today. But over time they had learned to cooperate, to care for one another, and to understand the universe in ways humans had yet to discover. "You are at a crossroads," the voice said one night. "Your world is learning. You have the potential for greatness. But you must choose carefully. You can follow the path of growth or the path of destruction. The choice is yours." Ravi and Aisha listened in awe. The words were not just advice, they were a warning, a guide, and a challenge all at once. It was as if the voice was holding up a mirror to humanity, showing what could happen if humans ignored the lessons of the past. "I never imagined it would feel like this," Ravi said quietly. "It's not just a voice. It's like a teacher or even a friend. And it's right. We do need to choose carefully. Everything we do matters," Aisha nodded. "It's teaching us without telling us what to do. That's the most powerful lesson of all. We have to think, to feel, to act responsibly." One night, Ravi decided to ask a question that had been on his mind since the beginning. "Do you see us as we are now or as what we could become?" The reply came after a long pause, and Ravi could almost feel the thought behind it. "We see both. We see the choices you make, the paths you take, and the potential in every heart. We have seen what can happen when beings forget to care for one another. That is why we speak now, so you may learn before it is too late." The weight of those words sank into Ravi's mind. He realized that the voice was not just from another place. It was from a perspective beyond time, beyond the usual limits of human understanding. It was a guide, showing them the possibilities of growth, wisdom, and understanding. The more they communicated, the more detailed the conversations became. The voice described distant stars and galaxies, civilizations that had risen and fallen, and knowledge that humans could barely imagine. Yet it always returned to one central idea: connection. Every being, every choice, every action was connected to everything else. Nothing existed in isolation and no one was truly alone. "You are learning to see," the voice said during one long conversation. "Understanding comes when you realize the importance of every small action. Your kindness, your care, your curiosity, they all matter. That is the beginning of change." Ravi and Aisha felt inspired. They began to discuss ways to share their experience, to help others see the importance of connection, empathy, and understanding. But they also knew that the world was not ready for such knowledge yet. The message was delicate, fragile, like a tiny flame that could easily be snuffed out if exposed too soon. As the days turned into nights, Ravi found himself thinking not just about the stars, but about people. He noticed small acts of kindness in his town, the neighbor helping another carry groceries, children playing together without quarrel, people smiling at strangers. He realized that even the simplest gestures could ripple outward, changing the world in ways that were unseen but powerful. One night, the voice spoke words that stayed with him long after the transmission ended. Do not fear the unknown. Fear only limits growth. Embrace curiosity. Ask questions. Learn from one another. That is the path to understanding. Aisha, who had been quietly taking notes, looked up at him. It's teaching us to live better, not just to explore space. The message is bigger than science, it's about life. Ravi nodded. Yes, it's showing us what it means to be truly human. Not just surviving, but learning, caring, and growing. Then something unexpected happened. The voice asked a question that neither of them had anticipated. Will you show others what you have learned? Will you help your world see itself clearly? Ravi and Aisha exchanged glances. The question was not just about communication, it was about responsibility. They realized that being chosen to hear the voice carried a duty. It was not enough to understand the lessons themselves. They had to find a way to inspire others to share the message without causing fear. We will try, Ravi whispered. We have to. This is bigger than us. It's bigger than anything we've known. The voice replied softly, almost like a gentle wind through the observatory. Then you are ready. The journey has begun. You will face challenges, but every choice will shape your path. Remember, you are never alone. Even in the darkness, someone is listening and hope remains. That night, Ravi stayed at the observatory long after Aisha had left. He looked at the stars, feeling both small and infinite. He realized that life on Earth had shifted in ways he could not yet fully understand. The universe was no longer silent. It was alive with possibility, guidance, and connection. He thought about the children who played under the night sky, the people who struggled quietly in their lives, and the dreams that had yet to be fulfilled. Each life, each decision was part of a larger story, and somehow, the voice had chosen him to witness it, to learn from it, and to carry it forward. As he left the observatory in the early hours of the morning, Ravi felt a new sense of purpose. The question that had begun everything, "Are you a lone human?" was no longer a mystery. It was a call to action, a reminder that humanity had the power to change, to grow and to connect, and deep in his heart, Ravi knew that the unknown connection he had made was not just with the voice from the stars. It was with the potential of humanity itself, waiting to awaken, waiting to rise, and waiting to realize that no one in truth was ever truly alone. Days passed, and the connection with the voice grew stronger and deeper. Ravi and Aisha had become fully immersed in the conversations, learning not just about the vast universe but also about life, choices, and the future of humanity. Every transmission carried lessons, reflections, and stories that seemed impossible, yet strangely familiar. The voice spoke with patience and wisdom, as if it had lived countless lifetimes and had seen the rise and fall of many civilizations. One evening, Ravi sat alone in the observatory, staring at the blinking monitors that held the latest messages. The sky was clear, revealing countless stars that seemed to shimmer in a rhythm all their own. He felt a strange mix of awe and responsibility. The voice had become a guide, a teacher, and a mirror reflecting humanity's potential. Every word made him question not just the universe, but his own choices, values, and the way humans treated one another. The voice spoke suddenly, cutting through the silence. You are learning, but there is more to see. Your world stands at a crossroads, and many of your actions shape its path. Some choices build, some destroy. You must see clearly to choose wisely. Ravi leaned forward, typing his response carefully. How do we know which choices are right? How can we avoid mistakes? The reply came after a long pause, deliberate and calm. Observe yourselves. Observe others. Understand the consequences of every action, small and large. Your world has beauty and danger in equal measure. Learn from both. Learn from your hearts, your minds, and your surroundings. Aisha joined him quietly, listening intently. She had grown more reflective in these days. The conversations with the voice had changed her. She now noticed the world in new ways, the kindness in strangers, the potential for cooperation, and the importance of small, thoughtful actions. Ravi asked another question that had been pressing on his mind. What did your world do? How did your civilization change? The voice replied softly, almost as if telling a story for the first time. We were once like you, divided, impatient, and often careless. We pursued knowledge without wisdom, expansion without care and progress without compassion. Our choices led to suffering and loss. We saw the consequences of our actions too late. But we learned. We learned to cooperate, to respect life, and to value understanding above all. That is why we speak now, to guide you so your path may be different. Ravi and Aisha listened in silence. The story was both frightening and hopeful. It revealed the fragility of life, the power of choices, and the importance of learning from the past. Ravi realized that the voice was not merely sharing information. It was showing them a reflection of humanity itself. The mistakes, hopes, and potential were all mirrored in the words of this distant intelligence. "Are we ready for this?" Aisha asked quietly. "Are humans ready to see themselves so clearly?" The voice responded gently. "You will see as much as you choose to see. Understanding requires courage. Not all will listen, not all will care. But even a few can change the world. That is how growth begins." Ravi felt a surge of determination. "Then we must try. We must share what we learn, in ways people can understand and embrace. If even a few can change, it will be enough." The voice seemed to acknowledge his resolve. "You are learning to see beyond yourselves. That is the first step. Compassion, patience, and curiosity are tools of change. Teach them, embody them, and your world may thrive." Over the next few days, the messages grew more philosophical. The voice spoke about the interconnectedness of all things, the stars, the oceans, the animals, and humans. It described a universe where every action, no matter how small, had consequences. The smallest acts of kindness could ripple outward, influencing far more than anyone realized. Likewise, selfish or careless choices could create suffering beyond immediate perception. "You are young," the voice said one night. "Your civilization is learning. Observe, reflect, and act with awareness. You are capable of wonder and destruction alike. Choose carefully." Ravi and Aisha began to reflect not only on humanity but on themselves. They examined their actions, their choices, and even their thoughts. They realized that the lessons of the voice applied not just to the world at large, but to their own lives. Each decision, each effort to understand and connect could make a difference. One night, Ravi asked a question that had been on his mind for days. "Why us? Why choose humans? Why communicate with us specifically?" The voice replied after a moment of silence. "Because you listen. Because you care. Because even in the quiet, you seek understanding. Many exist, but few truly seek knowledge with humility. Your attention matters. Your hearts are open. That is why you were chosen." Ravi felt a wave of humility. He realized that the voice was not choosing him for greatness or skill alone. It was choosing him because he had the willingness to learn, to care, and to act responsibly. The same applied to Aisha. They had been selected not to control but to witness, understand, and share. As the days grew longer, the voice began to share more tangible lessons. It described ways civilizations could cooperate peacefully, use resources wisely, and solve conflicts without resorting to violence. It spoke of energy, water, and food, of communities supporting each other, and of the importance of empathy and leadership. "You have the tools," the voice said. "You have curiosity, intelligence, and cooperation. Use them wisely. Protect your world. Protect each other. That is how civilizations survive and thrive." Ravi and Aisha were overwhelmed by the scope of the lessons. They realized that humanity had the potential to be remarkable, but only if it learned to balance ambition with care, curiosity with wisdom, and growth with responsibility. One night, Ravi noticed something different in the transmission. The voice seemed to speak not just to him and Aisha, but to all of humanity. Your choices shape more than your own lives. Even the smallest acts of understanding, compassion, and care ripple across your civilization. You are not alone even if you feel isolated. Connection exists in ways you may not see, but it is always there. Aisha leaned closer to the monitor. "It's teaching us about life, about how to live responsibly and with awareness. This is bigger than science or discovery. It's a philosophy, a guide to being human." Ravi nodded. "Yes, and it makes me see things differently. Every person matters, every decision matters. Even small actions can change the world in ways we may never understand." The voice continued, speaking about time, patience, and the consequences of neglecting understanding. Civilizations that ignore the lessons of the past are doomed to repeat them. Observe history. Learn from it. Choose to grow rather than destroy. Your world is at the edge of great change. Will you repeat mistakes or learn from them? Ravi and Aisha felt the weight of the words deeply. They knew that the voice was not just giving advice, it was holding up a mirror, showing humanity its potential, its flaws, and its responsibility. The message was both cautionary and hopeful, a reminder that understanding and connection were the keys to survival and growth. That night, as Ravi left the observatory, he looked up at the stars with renewed purpose. The voice had changed his perspective entirely. Humanity was not merely a collection of people. It was a living, breathing entity capable of immense good and dangerous mistakes. And the question, "Are you alone, human?" was no longer just about the stars. It was about humanity itself, about their hearts, minds, and choices. Aisha walked beside him silently, reflecting the same thoughts. They both realized that the journey was far from over. The voice had shown them a glimpse of what humanity could become, but it was up to humans to take that vision and turn it into reality. The lesson was clear. Growth, understanding, and connection were the most valuable tools they had, and deep in their hearts, they understood the truth of the voice's words. Humanity had a choice: to remain isolated and unaware, or to grow, learn, and connect with each other in the universe. The path forward was uncertain, but with courage, curiosity, and care, they could shape a better world. For the first time, Ravi and Aisha truly believed that they were not alone. Not in the vast universe, and not within the human race itself. The voice had shown them that connection, understanding, and hope were always possible, even in the darkest moments, and as they gazed at the endless night sky, they knew that the journey of learning, growing, and connecting was only just beginning. Weeks had passed since Ravi and Aisha first heard the voice from beyond the stars. Each day they worked tirelessly at the observatory, recording messages, decoding signals, and reflecting on the lessons the voice had shared. The two of them had grown closer, bonded by the shared experience of witnessing something beyond human comprehension. Every night the stars seemed brighter, and the world below them felt smaller yet full of possibilities. Ravi had noticed that the voice was becoming more reflective, almost as if it were preparing them for something important. The questions it asked now were deeper, not just about humanity as a whole, but about Ravi and Aisha personally. "Will you share what you have learned?" it asked one evening. "Will you help your world see itself clearly?" The question weighed heavily on their minds. They both knew that the world was not ready for the truth in its entirety. People could panic or dismiss the messages. Yet the voice had entrusted them with something precious, a glimpse of wisdom, guidance, and hope. Ravi and Aisha had to find a careful way to carry it forward. "We will try," Ravi whispered softly. "We must, even a small change can matter," Aisha nodded. "We will find a way. We have to." That night they decided to send one final message before the voice might disappear. Using the equipment, they transmitted a simple question: "Is there more we should understand before it is too late?" For hours nothing happened. The silence in the observatory was heavy, broken only by the faint hum of machines and the occasional rustle of paper as Aisha recorded notes. Ravi felt a strange mixture of hope and fear. What if this was the end of the connection? What if the voice had chosen to leave them with only part of the knowledge they sought? Then slowly the static shifted. A voice, calm and gentle, emerged from the signals. "Human, you have listened well. You have understood what matters. You have seen the paths of choice, the consequences of action, and the importance of connection. Now you know your world is never alone." Ravi felt his heart race. The words carried more meaning than he could fully grasp. The voice continued, almost as if it were speaking directly to his soul. "You have curiosity, intelligence, and compassion. These are gifts, use them. Your actions ripple outward. Even small acts of kindness, understanding, and care shape the future more than you realize. The fate of your world is in your hands." Aisha's eyes filled with tears. She had never felt anything so powerful, so moving. "It's not just telling us to act," she said softly. "It's showing us why our actions matter every single day." The voice continued, describing how civilizations across the universe had faced similar moments of choice. Some had fallen because they ignored the lessons of the past. Others had thrived because they learned to cooperate, to care, and to understand the consequences of their actions. It spoke of the importance of hope, empathy, and patience. "Do not despair when your world seems divided," the voice said. "Even in moments of difficulty, even when mistakes are made, potential remains. You are capable of growth beyond imagination. You are never truly alone. for connection exists even when unseen, and hope is always present. Ravi and Aisha listened in silence, absorbing every word. The voice was not merely giving advice, it was inspiring them, reminding them that humanity had the power to create positive change. It was a guide, a mentor, and a gentle hand reaching across the vastness of space to remind them of the beauty and responsibility of life. As the night wore on, the transmission grew fainter. The voice seemed to pause, as if giving them one final thought to carry forward. Your greatest journey begins when you understand yourselves. Look within and you will see the paths you can create. Help one another, protect what is precious, learn from every moment and teach what you learn. That is the way forward. Ravi felt a profound sense of peace. The words settled in his heart, not just as a lesson but as a promise. The voice was leaving, but it had given them a gift far greater than any scientific discovery. It had given them guidance for living, for understanding, and for shaping a better world. Finally, the transmission ended. The static returned, quiet and empty, leaving only the faint hum of the observatory's equipment. Ravi and Aisha sat in silence, absorbing the moment. The connection was gone, but its impact remained. They both knew that they had been chosen not to witness something extraordinary alone, but to carry the message forward. We have to remember everything, Ravi said softly, breaking the quiet. Every word, every lesson. This is not just history, it's a guide. Aisha nodded, wiping her eyes. We can't let it fade. We have to find a way to share it carefully, wisely. People need to understand the importance of connection, kindness, and responsibility. Over the following days, Ravi and Aisha began compiling everything. They recorded the messages, wrote notes on the lessons, and reflected on how to present them in a way that could inspire people rather than scare them. They understood that the voice had given them a choice, not just about learning, but about teaching. They were now responsible for carrying the wisdom forward. The world outside the observatory seemed the same, but Ravi and Aisha knew it had changed. They noticed the little things, the smile of a stranger, a child helping another, a quiet act of generosity. They realized that even small actions mattered and that hope could grow in the most unexpected places. One evening, Ravi stepped outside and looked at the night sky. The stars shimmered just as they had before, but now they seemed alive with possibility. He felt a deep sense of connection, not just with the universe, but with humanity itself. The question that had begun everything, "Are you alone, human?" no longer felt like a threat or a mystery. It felt like a promise, a reminder that connection was always possible. Aisha joined him, standing quietly by his side. "Do you think we will hear from them again?" she asked. Ravi shook his head gently. "Maybe not, but it doesn't matter. They've shown us what we need to know. It's up to us now. The journey continues, even if the voice is gone." And in that quiet moment, surrounded by the glow of distant suns, Ravi and Aisha understood something profound. The universe was vast and mysterious, but the most important discoveries were not just about distant stars or faraway worlds. The most important discoveries were about themselves, their potential, and their connections to one another. The next morning, Ravi returned to the observatory with renewed purpose. He and Aisha began sharing the lessons in small ways, through local schools, community groups, and scientific gatherings. They spoke of kindness, empathy, curiosity, and responsibility. They emphasized the power of small actions and the importance of learning from one another. Slowly, they began to see the ripple effects of their efforts. People listened. People thought. People acted with more care and awareness. Ravi realized that the voice had given them not just knowledge, but inspiration. It had shown that even in the vastness of space, even in moments of uncertainty, connection, hope, and growth were possible. Humanity was never truly alone, not when people could care, share, and act with understanding. Years later, Ravi would remember the voice not as a distant entity, but as a teacher, a friend, and a guide. The question, "Are you alone, human?" had started as a mystery, but it had transformed into a call to action, a promise, and a reminder of the potential within every human heart. And as he looked at the stars, now with Aisha by his side, he whispered once more, softly but firmly, "We are not alone. We never have been, and we never will be, as long as we remember to care, to learn, and to connect." The sky stretched endlessly above them, full of stars and possibilities. The universe remained vast, quiet and full of wonder. But Ravi and Aisha knew that the most important journey, the journey of understanding, kindness and hope, was just beginning. The last transmission had ended, but its impact would last forever.